They say your closest circle defines your life. But what if someone in that circle wears a mask? It started a few years ago when I was at a turning point in my life. I had just received a major promotion, something I had worked tirelessly for. My close friend, whom I'll call Matt, gave me a weak smile and a half-hearted congrats, man. Something about it felt off. My gut told me there was more behind that smile than he let on. At first, I dismissed it. Maybe he was having a bad day. But over time, little signs kept surfacing, subtle sarcasm. Missed calls when I needed support. Backhanded compliments that stung more than they soothed. I felt confused. Why did someone so close seem ... off? That's when I met Walker Teddy. Walker was a retired psychiatrist from Texas, now volunteering at a local mental health support group I had started attending. He had the calm presence of someone who had seen the worst of the human mind and come out stronger for it. One day after a session, I told him what had been weighing on me. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and said, "You ever read Carl Jung?" I shook my head. Well, Jung talked about the shadow, the dark, hidden side of our personality that we often project onto others. Sometimes, people who secretly envy or resent us can't help but show it, even if they think they're hiding it well. That was the start of the shift. Lesson 1. Contempt wears a mask of irony. Walker explained how sarcasm and backhanded compliments are often a red flag. If someone consistently jokes about your insecurities or belittles your wins under the guise of humor, they're not just joking, he said. They're revealing their shadow. I remembered how Matt would say things like, "Look who finally got lucky," or "Don't let that promotion get to your head." I had laughed with him before, thinking I was too sensitive. They might forget to mention important details, mislead you subtly, or offer bad advice, masked as wisdom. Once, when I was preparing for a big presentation, Matt offered to help. He gave me outdated data. When my slides got questioned in the meeting, I brushed it off as a mistake, but now it looked like a pattern. I call that silent sabotage, Walker said. It's when envy leaks out sideways. Lesson 3. Competition in disguise. I started noticing how Matt would respond to any success I had with a story about himself. When I ran my first half marathon, he said, "That's cool. I ran one in better time last year." When I bought my first car, he casually mentioned how his was faster, newer, and cheaper. Walker smiled knowingly when I mentioned this. That's unspoken competition. People who feel insecure can't celebrate others. They need to prove they're better. I asked, "Is it always conscious?" "Not always," he said. "But whether it's conscious or not, the effect on you is real." Lesson 4. Superficial support is emotional starvation. One of the most painful realizations was that Matt never really showed up, not emotionally, not practically. He was the friend who said, "Let me know if you need anything," but vanished when I actually did. Walker said, "Real support is consistent. It's present. It's emotionally invested. If someone is always absent when you rise or fall, they're not in your corner." This hit hard. During a major family loss, Matt texted "Sorry man" and never followed up. Meanwhile, people I hardly expected showed up at the funeral. That was a wake-up call. Lesson 5. Control can be cloaked in care. Matt often tried to make my decisions for me. When I was considering starting my side business, he said, "That's risky. Just stick to your job. I know what's best." Walker called this covert control. He said, "When someone tries to run your life under the name of care, ask yourself, do they make you feel more confident or more insecure?" Once I understood that, I stopped mistaking control for concern. Lesson 6. Gossip isn't harmless. It stung the day I found out Matt had been talking behind my back. A mutual friend slipped up and said, "He said you got lucky with the promotion, that it wasn't based on talent." I felt betrayed. Walker nodded. People gossip when they lack the courage to confront or the grace to appreciate, and often they gossip to maintain their own fragile ego. I distanced myself quietly, no drama, but the trust was gone. Lesson 7. Their body language betrays them. Walker said, "Words lie, but the body doesn't." I started noticing the stiff smiles, the avoidance of eye contact, the sighs when I shared something joyful. Matt once clenched his jaw and said, "That's awesome, dude," when I announced I was moving to a better city for work. I realized his body said more than his words ever could. Setbacks still came. I won't lie, it wasn't easy to let go of a long-term friendship. Part of me still hoped I was wrong. But clarity has a price. It forces you to choose truth over comfort. When I cut ties gradually, guilt came in waves. But I remembered Walker's words, "Your peace is the boundary you draw." I also struggled with overanalyzing other relationships, wondering if every compliment hid a shadow. But with time, I found balance, not paranoia, but awareness. The loop that changed everything. Walker once told me, "Whatever you tolerate becomes your standard." If you allow quiet hostility, you teach your heart to settle for it. That stuck with me. I started investing in people who celebrated me, not tolerated me. People whose eyes lit up when I succeeded. People who didn't compete, but collaborated. In time, I found my tribe. More importantly, I learned how to be that kind of person for others, cheering loudly, supporting consistently, and staying aware of my own shadow too. Conclusion: when you know better, you live better. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The signs are always their whispers in the body language, irony in their praise, absence in your pain. You just have to see. Today, I live more aware, more emotionally intelligent, and more intentional about who I allow into my space. Because when someone shows you who they are, especially in the small things, believe them.